in Antigua, Guatemala, there are 64, I believe, could be 68, could be 67, I'm not trying to make them, but there's countless monasteries and convents that were built. And I show this because you see how, to use an expression, see how the verge is kind of taking over the place. And how, you know, on my pieces inside, I used at one point just the strict bracing of things with wood. But then I started to think about these organic possibilities. I'm not quite through with that. I don't know where to go with it. But it's how does it interact? And sometimes it's quite you know, challenging to do. Two friends of mine, I don't know their names. No, but this comes up with something very interesting. Here's that bracing of this ancient thing, or this thing in Antigua, and they're laughing about what's going to happen when they pull them out and it falls on them. But it goes a little bit to what I'm talking about here. The notion that there's one reality and there's another reality behind that. And the painting, the work of art, is in the way. Yeah, you can say of a work of art that it can either be a wall or a window. And I think that to look at it as a window into an ever increasingly larger, from still life to interior, from interior to out the window to eventually, you know, where does that lead? I think, I mean, I see the painting or the process of painting as a meditative thing. I think we both see it that way. It's surprising that we both think, but, well, she's better at it. You know, you told me you were better at it. That's how I know that. But the thing is that it's the idea of hopefully a reflective thing. Now, if you go to an art exhibit and you walk in, if you go to a museum, you see an exhibit, and you walk in and you walk out, you've done your first duty. You've done your first duty. Everything must be returned to. Everything must be returned to. When I was a kid, nursery rhymes, you know, they're entertaining. And some of the things that we read, you know, as little kids, Good Night Moon, you know, it's thoughtful, but it's soothing. But the more you return to it, the more other parts of it emerge. So to encounter a work of art the one time is to really make a mistake. It's like meeting a person for a few minutes and thinking you know them. You haven't walked that mile in their shoes, you haven't even walked 50 feet. It's to go back and back and back. And people like paintings, like art, like anything of worth, they're all like onions. So you gotta peel them, layer by layer by layer. And they may not be the center that you hope for. It may be something different. It might be something bright, maybe something dark. Again, that bracing with the idea that there's something through there, there's something beyond. Mayan glyphs. The Mayans, this is not, you know, solely where I'm going with this. This was an inspiration, a thought. And it gave me the idea of what these individual things might be called, what they might mean. And looking to find a painting that might mean something. Because the glyph is a pictoglyph, it's something that says something. And hopefully, just like when you write your name, anybody who can write their name can draw. They don't believe it, but they can. And if you can write your name, you can learn to write it better, just like you can learn to draw better. It's just a willingness on your part. It really is. But the thing is about this is it stands for something behind it. Your name on a piece of paper it's really, I guess if I were a French deconstructionist, I would say a simulacrum. I don't even know what that means. But it would stand for the thing. It would stand for you. And something has a meaning that lies behind it. Mayan Codex, and I began to take some of my colors and look at my palette from some of the pottery and some of the things in the Mayan Codex, and try to think about those things. Did I go farther? Am I gone in different directions? Yeah, I'm looking culturally around at different things. So that the Celtic stuff and this, all of it has a certain kind of meaning. This is Mark Rothko in his studio, and Pam picked some Rothko paintings that she included. And what strikes me here is that we both thought of the same thing. This is what Joseph Campbell, in his way, referred to as the hero's journey, the field of action. That distance between him and that painting, that confrontation, that idea that, who's that, between the hammer and the anvil, between the thought and the shadow, between comes this. I don't know if it was T.S. Eliot or Edith Sitwell, I can't even remember right now. But the notion is that there's this space between. And in that space, one makes a kind of contest, if you will. Sometimes that contest is to the painting, but the artist doesn't give up and comes back to it. Why are there individual paintings? Why do artists keep on painting? You could actually paint on one painting until it couldn't stand up anymore, just fall on the floor out of its own weight. But I think you work on something till you see a harmony, till you see a solution, till you see the thing in repose.
That idea of having courage. If you are painting something that is representational, that is a beautiful, beautiful thing to do, and it's very, very skillful. But there is no risk in the end when you do that, because there it is, and it's up to you to make a two-dimensional representation of that three-dimensional object. But when you confront the blank surface of that canvas and you enter into it, you don't know necessarily where you're going, where you're headed. You may have some inkling of what you're trying to get at, but it's a matter of being really quite still inside and letting that work of art talk to you and tell you what it needs. And in the end, you're hopeful that something that resonates with you, I mean, you put the brush down, you put the rag down, you sit down, you say, whoa, that's kind of it. But you have no idea if it's going to make sense to anybody else, because it is ultimately extremely personal. But you're hoping that by being that personal, it becomes universal. And for every success you have, there are many that that wrestled you to the ground.
Speak for yourself. Nobody wrestles me to the ground and lives.
I also just wanted to mention, just on a personal note.
Remember Jacob the angel?
I do.
Okay.
Our daughter is from Guatemala, and so the Mayan ruins and the glyphs are not just part of that larger codex that Frank is referring to, and the remnants and the mark making, but there's really something extraordinarily personal for us that he looks at those particular sources.
This image here of Rothko in his studio, and Pam showed, what's his face?
Mark.
No, Jackson of Pollock. The notion here, a lot of artists have painted like this when they get these large canvases. They'll make some kind of dolly arrangement like this. Who's the guy Terry used to work for up there?
Al Held.
Al Held used to have, he had converted dairy barn. I don't know where he put the cows, but he built several walls that slid around the room on rollers. Or he had so much money, excuse me, he caused them to be built, and lo, there they were. I would have to build them myself. But if you look here, the painting itself is kind of braced up, held up, okay? And that's an important thing. I began to work really just eventually with the idea of these images with, and there are many of them that were done along these lines, with a ragged edge. And the sun and the ball are central to the, and my good friend John over here could talk in depth about this, they're central to the Mayan creation myth. and the Mayan ball game and how all of that is played. And I don't even pretend to understand all of it, except to say that it's so fascinating to me that the ball has this sense of completeness to it. It enters into a number of different images. I began to see, whoa, I need to take these things and support them somehow, and make them more part of a structure. And this is where I began to take some of the, let's say as my son called it, your stick paintings, Dad. But as I take some of those more organic forms and kind of fold them in and create a different kind of structure, I hope that both my paintings and Pam's have a reflective quality, but they're coming from both the same and different places. And I think that that's in part what works. The function of a poem is to trap heaven and earth in the cage of form, said Archibald MacLeish. And I was thinking of the poem earlier by W.H. Auden, the Musée des Beaux-Arts, in which he talks about Bruegel's painting, The Fall of Icarus, and how Icarus, on wings designed by his father, had mounted up into the heavens, and these wings of wax and feather and wood, and all the way up until the sun itself, that other reality, melted them, and he fell. And it's the fall, just as I spoke before, it's the space between. And he's just sticking out of the water in the paint, just a little bit of his leg sticking out of the water. And the line, you know, to me is and the little ship sailed on. It didn't see anything. It missed the whole fall. It missed it.
Something miraculous.
Something incredible. A boy falling through from the sky, and nobody was looking. It
sailed calmly by.
It's a miracle, and yet not really understood, or really appreciated. So you know, I think that's I say, what of painting and what of art? In other words, is it a cage of form? What is it? I'm not going to stand here, I don't think she's going to stand here, and give you a definition. But if it's a thing of worth, it will endure. If it is not, it will not. If you come at it again and again and again with your quest for understanding of it. Be not dismissive of that which is not fully understood, because I don't understand it, and yet the urge to make it and the urge for others to make it is there. And so there. So there. It's there. And what's this? Oh, that's a thank you. And I thank you, and thank you.